management at Granules India. Earlier in the morning, we did had IOL Chemicals as well. Priyanka is now with us. Executive Director Granules India is joining us. Priyanka, thanks so much for taking out time for us. First time you're talking to ET now after your results. Can you just talk to us about what happened to ibuprofen, paracetamol, various other API products that were actually on the high? What happened in this quarter?
Thank you. All the products, primarily paracetamol, metformin, ibuprofen, I wouldn't say ibuprofen necessarily, but two of our products, paracetamol and metformin, saw a significant uptick in raw material prices. And this is not necessarily this quarter. This has been a trajectory since over the last 3 to 4 quarters now. And that has continued to affect our the cost of selling quite significantly. For example, paracetamol prices have gone up. The raw material prices for paracetamol have gone up anywhere between 90% and 160%. The costs, and for metformin went up by about 70 to 90%. And that has taken a significant toll on the cost of production, which have affected our margins. Outside of that, there were other raw materials, everything, right from the basic chemicals to methanol, etc. Every raw material took a significant hit on the cost, primarily because of multiple issues, China being the biggest one.
Right. Priyanka, good afternoon. This is Cheryl also joining in the conversation. And as you flagged off, definitely raw material costs was one of the reasons what impacted your Q2 earnings. We've seen that your EBITDA margins have also seen a sharp drop on a year-on-year basis. Given the circumstances, do you see an improvement in the scenario going ahead? And also, how does this alter your guidance for the year?
To answer your first question, do we see an improvement going ahead? I certainly hope so. We said this, I think CMD said this over his last call, that things would ease out by Q3, but things have taken a turn for the worse. I think after the last quarter, we saw raw material prices go up even further. But we have qualified multiple other sources. So we're not just completely dependent on Chinese sources. Now, we have multiple sources in India and also Europe for some key raw materials, which could put us in a better position in terms of costing. But that said, for us, it's very important to make sure that we have consistency of supply more than costing, so we can continuously supply without any level of disruptions in the market. So on that front, I think we're taken care of. Paracetamol should improve over the next quarter or two in terms of supply, but costing, we should just wait and see how things pan out. And in terms of guidance, we're not necessarily guiding primarily because of how uncertain everything is around us. But I think this year will be a little bit more soft. It'll be a blip in terms of our CAGR that we have committed to, but we should go ahead and see how the year pans out.
China normalization played a very important part in this, and will this be the normal ahead, or you expect to pass on some price hike? Generally, it may take 1-2 quarters lag, but over a period of time, you'll be able to pass it on to your customers?
See, B2B customers, we've already tried to pass on a lot of expenses, a lot of increase in costs, and we have started passing them on now. So we'll start seeing them in Q3, early Q3. Now, with B2C customers, it's a little bit more tricky, primarily in the US. That's our biggest market. It is a little bit tricky because we've started to communicate the significant increase in costs to customers. And customers are now starting to realize that this is starting to impact the prices right now, because earlier most of the suppliers had tons of inventory. Now also they have a lot of inventory, but it's depleting. And suppliers, from what we hear, are talking to customers, but it's all about who takes the first leap in terms of changing the market dynamics. And I think that aside, we are having a continuous conversation with our customers, and hopefully we'll be able to pass some on starting this quarter. So we'll start seeing the impact end of Q3 and Q4 going forward.
Right, ma'am. Thanks so much for taking out time for us. Always good. to get perspective from you. That was the management at Granules. Earlier we spoke to IOL and